Welcome to the Transformative Pathways Podcast with your host, Jason Doby. Join Jason as he explores the many ways to unlock personal growth, mindfulness, and spiritual transformation. So now, please welcome the host of Transformative Pathways, Jason Doby.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Jason Doby, founder of Transformative Pathways Life Coaching. Thank you so much for joining us today. Before we dive in, I want to quickly share something I think you'll find really helpful. I recently released a free self-reflection tool. It's quick, it's easy, and it's free, and it only takes 5 minutes. So if you've been feeling stressed out or overwhelmed lately, then this tool will help you figure out what's really going on underneath the surface. And it'll also give you a few practical action steps to start feeling more peaceful and grounded right away. There's also a free bonus for you waiting at the end as well, and you can check it out anytime. Just hit the link in the show notes to access it. All right, now let's dive in to today's show. This is a special one. It's the final episode of my 24-part podcast series, and I'm closing it out with something that means a lot to me, the program I've poured my heart and soul into creating over the past year. The journey within, finding purpose, peace, and a new way of living. So in today's episode, I'll be sharing more about my own personal story, how I came into this work, what inspired this program, and why I believe so deeply in the transformation that I can offer. The Journey Within is a 12-week group coaching program designed specifically for men who are feeling stressed, stuck, disconnected, or like something's missing in their lives. It's built around mindfulness, awareness, and being intentional because these are the core building blocks that support real lasting change in your life. Through a combination of guided reflections, emotional growth, and community connection, this program helps men reconnect with themselves, build inner strength, and create a life that feels more grounded, purposeful, and real. We cover everything from stress and emotional regulation to limiting beliefs, ego, conflict resolution, and self-expression. But underneath it all, it's about helping you return to who you truly are and giving you the tools to show up fully in your life for the people you care about the most. The truth is, most men are carrying a heavy load, often silently. The stress and disconnection just don't fade on their own. It builds up and starts affecting everything: your family, your relationships, your work, and even your health. That's why this work matters, and that's why now is the best time to begin. Later in the episode, one of the guys who's currently in my program will be calling in to share what shifted for him and how the journey within has impacted his life so far. So make sure you stick around for that. And just a reminder, if you're tuning in live, you're welcome to call in or drop your questions in the chat at any time throughout the show. I'd love to hear from you. So make sure you do that. All right. I'm just messing with my screen here to make sure I can see the chat. And I cannot see the chat, but that's fine. All right. So first I'm going to start off. I think I have to click this little box here. There we go. You think I know how to do this by now. All right. So first I want to start off with a little bit about my own story. So as you may or may not know, I was a professional chef for over 26 years. So in the early days when I was younger, it was a great lifestyle. I felt great. It was a fast-paced life. We would go out drinking every night with the guys. Some nights we'd be out till 6 o'clock in the morning, then back in the kitchen working 12 hours a day, sometimes 7 days a week. Sometimes I worked 28, 30 days in a row without a day off. But I loved it. It was fun. And it was, it was a rush. So, that was my life, just working all the time. And outside of that, I didn't really have a life. Work was my life. I love the adrenaline. I love the hustle and bustle of it all. But then when I was about 31, I think, so about 12 years ago or so, I first got sober, and that's when everything started to change in my life. I was focusing more on myself. and I wasn't using drugs and alcohol to run away from my problems anymore. So that's when everything really started shifting for me, and that's when I really started doing the inner work. I joined some group therapy groups. I joined a mindfulness meditation group, and that's when I really started diving into this inner work stuff. And that's when everything kind of changed, and that's when my perspective on life kind of changed. And then fast forward a few years after that, I had my first daughter. And then that's when, like I said before, work was everything for me. And then, once I had kids, then I kind of lost my love for the crazy life of being a chef. It was really hard. It was hard before, because when you're a chef, you work a lot of crazy hours. You work nights, weekends, holidays. I was always working. I was always missing family events, and didn't really think anything of it. I know it was really hard on my wife, because everyone was always bugging her saying, where's Jason? How come Jason's not here? But it was just a normal thing. If there was a family event, I wasn't there because I was in the kitchen. If it was a holiday, I wasn't there. I even worked places where we were open on Christmas Day, and that was the busiest day of the year. So of course I was in the kitchen at work, and I wasn't home for those times. But once I had kids, that all shifted, and wanting to be home kind of became really, really important to me. And then also on that note, for the past 15 years or so, I was working in a kitchen. Ever since I got sober, I wasn't really loving it anymore. And through my mindfulness meditation practices, I used to use mindfulness meditation to really help me deal with my stress and anxiety, because being a head chef in a restaurant is really stressful. And that's why a lot of chefs use drugs and alcohol to help them cope with that. So once I quit drinking, then I really turned to meditation to sort of help me deal with my stress and anxiety. But yeah, as I was saying, for the past 15 years in my career, I wasn't happy. I hated my life. I hated my job. I dreaded every day. I wake up in the morning dreading the day ahead, dreading the week ahead, dreading the weekend, dreading everything, wondering what's going to go wrong today, who's going to call in sick. And it wasn't really a good way to live my life. It wasn't good for my mental health at all. But I think the biggest thing that was holding me back was myself, because I used to tell myself, I've worked so hard to get here. What else am I going to do with my life? I've worked so hard to get to where I am. Why would I just throw that all away and go try to do something else and start all over again? And through working my way up the ladder, I was making a good living. So to find and making the same amount of money wasn't really in the cards. So that's kind of what kept me stuck. And I just kind of told myself that I just had to suck it up and basically just keep working, and the finish line would be when I retire. And so I just kind of sucked it up, and I just kept on pushing through. I was burnt out. I was exhausted. I was in survival mode. And like I said, I hated my job and I hated my life, but I would just mask it. I would just pretend I was happy, and I would just kind of show up, put a smile on my face, and push through and do it. And I did that for so long. And then, the turning point for me was, I guess, two things. I guess the first thing would be, I had what you call a spiritual awakening. I think through my 10 to 12 years of practicing meditation every day to help me deal with my stress and anxiety and mindfulness, I really, when you practice meditation, they say you go within. So I really came connected to myself, my thoughts, my feelings. And after all those years of ignoring my feelings and pushing them away with drugs and alcohol, I was really interested in my feelings once I got sober. And the practice of mindfulness and meditation really helped me tune into those feelings and become curious of those feelings and my thoughts. And through that meditation practice a few years ago, I guess I had a spiritual awakening, they call it. It's different for everybody. But for me, I guess it looked like my inner voice, my intuition started getting really loud. And I started getting this pull that I was meant to do something more, pulling me away from working in the kitchen and trying to push me towards something. And I got really curious about that. And is like, I don't know how to explain it, like this feeling in my stomach, like certain things would happen and I would get this feeling. And then I just really started paying attention to that. I started reading books about it and got really curious about it. And that's what kind of led me on this path that I am now. And then I remember one day I woke up and I said to myself, I don't have to do this anymore. Like, I can take control of my life and I can do whatever I want, because I was in the mindset that I was just going to be stuck in this job forever. And, it's normal to hate your job. Everyone hates their job. That's life. You just work, you get over it, and you have to go provide for your family. One day I decided, I'm done with this. I can do whatever I want in my life, and I can take charge of my life right now. So that was the day that I decided that I was going to leave the kitchen, and I had no idea what I was going to do. All I know is that I wanted a job where I was able to spend more time with my family, and that was my main goal. So a lot of chefs transition to salesmen in the industry. So that was kind of my go-to thing. I wanted to get a sales rep job so I could work Monday to Friday. And my dream was just to have weekends off. I wanted to have weekends off so I could see my kids. I could see them on the weekends. I could go to those family dinners. I could have holidays off to go to those. And I was looking and I thought, what am I going to do? And I was at the point where I didn't even care what I did. I was trying to figure out, okay, how much money do I need to make to pay my bills? And I was just looking for any job. And obviously all the jobs I was looking at were paying significantly less than I was making. I was at the top of my career. I was making close to $100,000 a year. And, I was looking at jobs that were paying like 18 to 20 bucks an hour. And I was trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to make this work? And then I had a meeting with a guy one day in the kitchen. He was one of my sales reps from a seafood company out west. And they were looking for a sales rep for Ontario, which is the province I live in, to sell their West Coast seafood. And at the end of the meeting, he said they were looking for someone to run the Ontario division. And he said, someone like me that has West Coast seafood experience, because I worked out on the West Coast at a hotel for a couple of years. So I know all about the West Coast seafood. And then after that meeting, I had this huge wave of energy come over me. And I thought, and I just couldn't ignore it. And I thought, wow, like maybe that is a sign that's trying to tell me that I need to apply for this job. Maybe something inside of me is telling me that this job is for me. So I went home and I typed up my resume and a letter to this gentleman, and I applied for the job. And it turns out I didn't get the job. And then I was thinking, okay, I didn't get that job. So what was that big feeling that I had? But at this point, I was, deep enough in my spiritual practice that I was kind of, trusting the universe and trusting that everything was going to work out for me. So I just kept that trust. I actually read a book, a Dr. Joe book called Becoming Supernatural. That was right around this time. And that book really helped me with kind of letting go of expectations and just trusting that everything was going to work out. And that was really hard for me to do because I'm a control freak. And, I want to control what's going to happen and control my future. So it's really hard for me to just let go and trust that things are going to happen. So I was doing these weird meditations where I would write down, all the things I wanted in my new job and how it's going to make me feel. And it was one of the meditations in that book. And I did that meditation for a month, and I just kind of let go. I applied for a whole bunch of jobs. I didn't get anything. And I just kind of let it all go. And I said, everything's going to work out. I don't know how. And I'm trying to explain this to my wife. And then, the one day I decided it was getting close to summertime. And I decided I needed to leave my job before the summer because that's a busy time in the restaurant. And I figured if I didn't leave now, I'd be stuck there for another season. And I need to get out now. So one night I had an idea. I thought, why don't I just get a job cooking breakfast somewhere? So I looked online, and there was a golf course in Niagara-on-the-Lake hiring breakfast cooks. I think it was like $24 an hour plus tips. So I applied for the job. So here's me going from an executive chef position at a high-end winery, going to cook breakfast at a golf course. But I didn't care. I thought, oh, this is perfect. I can have every night off to spend with my kids, and it's going to be low stress because I'm not in charge. I'm just cooking breakfast and going home. So I convinced my wife to let me quit my job, and luckily she was on board. And I said to her, I'm going to have a sales job within 3 months. I just know it. And, I was still making enough money to pay the bills. My wife was freaking out a little bit because she didn't think we were going to be okay. So she was picking up extra shifts at her work to try to make up for the pay cut that I was having. So I left my job, and I'm sure everyone thought I was crazy leaving, this head chef position at a high-end winery restaurant to go be a breakfast cook. But I went for it. I trusted myself. And I think it was 6 weeks later, I got a call from somebody who had a sales job selling seafood in the Niagara region where I live. And he said to me, hey, I heard you're looking for a sales job. I'm just about to go and give my notice today. Do you want me to put in a recommendation for you? And I said, yes, that would be perfect. And this job didn't even cross my mind. It wasn't something on my radar at all. So then I had a conversation with the owner, and I started the next week. And I still have that job today. That's still my full-time job. So that just goes to show that, I didn't get the job I wanted, but I got everything that I wanted. And that's something that one of my mentors used to always tell me, is that the universe will give you what you want, but not in the way that you expect it to happen. So that was really my first, the first proof I had that, trusting things are going to work out, and things are really going to work out. And another profound moment I had was when I was in the kitchen one day. I had a voice in my head that told me that I needed to be helping people. And that really put me on a path searching on what my purpose was in life and what I really wanted to do, because I really enjoyed helping people. My favorite part of being a chef was helping my staff, with their problems. For me, getting sober and my problems with addiction, I used to help a lot of people in the kitchen. They would always come to me for advice. And when you're a head chef, you're almost like a mentor to your staff, because you have all these people in the kitchen, and they're always coming to you for advice. A lot of them are young and have troubled lives, and they're getting in trouble. I've even had staff members that spent the weekend in jail, and so much stuff. It's like being a big brother to all these guys, and that was my favorite part of the job, was mentoring my staff. And I knew I wanted to do something to help people, and not just because I had this voice in my head, or I got this message from my higher self, or wherever it came from, but that really put me on a path searching for what I wanted to do. And at that time, I didn't even know what life coaching was. I didn't know anything about life coaching. I knew people went to therapy and stuff like that, but I knew nothing about coaching and coaches. at all. And then I ended up just randomly enrolling in a 12-week group coaching program from a lady that I follow online. I commented on one of her posts and she reached out to me, and we ended up having a call, and then it happened really fast. And I was enrolled in a 12-week program called Living with Soul. And that was like a spirituality based self-improvement, inner work sort of program. And that was just, perfect for me. It was exactly what I needed at the time. And I was hesitant about joining. And she offered that my wife could do the program as well. And the two of us could do it for the price of one. So that was incredible that I got to join her program. And it also helped my wife was sort of letting me do it because she got to do it too, and we got a deal. So it kind of all worked out. And then through that program, one of the goals I set was that I wanted to get into coaching myself, because like I said, I didn't know anything about this whole coaching thing at all. So that was one of the goals I set. And then I ended up working with this mentor. Her name was Shriyanka. After the program was done, I ended up working with her. It was a 12-week program, so 3 months long. I ended up working with her for 2 more rounds of the program. So I think I ended up working with her for 10 months. So I paid for my 12-week program, and then I stayed on for 10 months working with her. And and the reason I stayed on was because she did a men's and a women's group. The group I was in was for men and women, but then she split it for men and women, but she was calling in more women than men. So she wanted a few of us guys to stay on as support in the men's group. So I got to go through the program 3 times for the price of one, and it was amazing. So basically I was kind of working for her as a support person, and she was paying me by giving me free coaching sessions, which was amazing. She helped me start my business. She helped me with my social media, and she helped me with a lot of stuff. And then she put me on the path to work with my business mentors, Haley and Josh, at the Onyx Business Academy. And it was just incredible how everything worked out. Just from commenting on one of her posts, I ended up working with her for 10 months. And then she put me on to working with these business mentors. And then from working with them is how I ended up building my program. So it's it's been a pretty incredible journey. And sorry, I'm just looking at my notes here. So yeah, I knew I wanted to be a coach. I knew I wanted to make a 12-week program similar to the one that I did. When I started coaching, I just kind of did one-on-one coaching with people, like one-offs here and there, but that wasn't really doing anything for me. I knew I wanted to create a program. So I started working on my 12-week program. And then I had, originally I was planning to do a program for men and for women. But then I had, I guess you call it, 3 signs from the universe within 1 week, kind of pointing me in the direction that I should start a group for men. And, as you know, from my past experiences, when I get these messages, I tend to listen to them. So I leaned into that. And I remember one night I stayed up all night kind of writing down my ideas when I got this. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to do a group just for men. And it makes sense because there's so many groups out there. There's so many spaces for women, and a lot of, I don't know the actual number, but I think 80% of coaches out there are women, and the groups are all for women. But there's not a lot of spaces for us guys. So I think this is something that's really needed in the world. And I know, like, for myself, I was feeling, before I started working with a coach and joining a group, I was feeling really alone and disconnected. Because I worked so much, I didn't really have many friends or anyone that I hung out with. So I was pretty much just on my own. So the idea of building a group program for men, a place where we can connect and do the work together, and my idea is to sort of build a brotherhood, was a really powerful idea to me. because connection is really important, and being in a group and hearing other people that are going through the same thing as you kind of makes you feel a little bit more normal. So yeah, I think that's really important. So yeah, then I've been working on this program for about 6 months, and I just launched my first round of the program a couple months ago. I think we're on week 7 or week 8 this week. So I'm in the first round with the first group of guys, and it's going really, really well, better than I could have expected. And, making this program and launching it has been a really scary thing for me too. Putting it out there, when you take the leap to start your own business and leave your career, it can be really scary. And you go through a lot of doubt. Am I doing the right thing? Your mind starts telling you, you can't do this. You can't do this. You're going to fail. You should quit, all this sort of stuff. But, I really just stuck with it. And I'm so glad that I did it and followed through, because when I launched the program, I was worried that, these guys were going to say that they didn't like it or it sucked and all this stuff. But I've had nothing but good things. And the transformations have been incredible so far. And I believe we have one of the guys in my group calling in right now. So I think we can go to him. Can we take that call right now?
Yeah. Anybody there?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Yourself?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for calling in today.
Well, thanks for taking my call. I just thought I'd give you a call and let you know that I probably never mentioned it, but one of the reasons that I did join your group was it was your Instagrams, watching them on Instagram and reading them. And there's like so many, but when you see somebody that's kind of down to earth and not just like a mechanical one, it's something you want to kind of, I find myself anyways, I'd rather attach to, just because they're people and it's not somebody doing AI and just making it up and it looks fantastic. But I liked what you were saying. And I've always, look, I'm 66 years old. I've coached hockey, I've coached lacrosse most of my life, and I know how important a coach is. And as far as my development, I kind of started developing back when I was 19, but no one ever told me that they had coaches for this stuff. Mm-hmm. And I've read more books than I can shake a stick at. I can tell you what they're about if I read the cover, because most of them are exactly the same. But after a while, they just get boring. But I must say that this program, I had more notes in my notes after the first week, and I go over them still today, than I have in the last 40 years of reading improvement books. And that's something to say for your program, I'll tell you that. I'm a big firm believer of coaching, and I just thought I'd just go over a couple things that I found really important to me. And, we're looking at 8 weeks, so I kind of broke it down to, I guess, number one of the things I learned was really to be mindful, and mindful of my mental health, my emotional health, and my physical health. So I pay attention to those every day. And I make sure that I work out. I make sure that I'm doing my mental exercises and not letting things get under my skin. And emotionally, really just trying to be fair to everybody and fair to myself, instead of getting carried away about things that I can't control anyways. And one of the other things I have in my notes is I'm trying to create the person that I always wanted to become. It's always something, when you're younger and you're growing up, you think, oh, I'd like to be like this. and then the next thing you know, your kids go into hockey or lacrosse, and you get called into work, and you forget all about it. And months go by. But now I've got one part of the program was for me to write it down, and I have it in my notes, and I go over it daily. It's really quite amazing. And most important, I guess, was to be mindful of my self-talk, and then to intentionally change it from the negative stuff that runs through your mind into something positive that's going to help me and help my family and help the people around me. And I have those affirmations, and I go over them every morning, every noon, and at nighttime. And I'll go into Spotify and play nature music and do like a meditation, but with my affirmations. And I'll go over it slow, and I'll listen to the music for about 10 minutes, and I'll go through my affirmations maybe, 5-10 times until I'm going to fall asleep. So it's time to get at it. You know what that music's like. Mm-hmm. And some other big changes, I guess, that I made to my daily practices. I guess the last few years I've always worked out, and I tried meditating, and I did it for a while. Then I stopped doing it, and then I got in the habit of not doing it, and I kind of missed it. But now, I guess I'm meditating sometimes 3 or 4 times a day. Anytime I'm out in the back and I'm working and I get tired, I just come in the house and I do a quick 5-minute or 10-minute meditation, and it just energizes me, and then I just go back at it. And journaling. Beginning of the day, I'll go into my journal and I'll go over the things from yesterday, and if there's anything I need to add, I add. And then during the day, when something pops up, whether it's a win or, whether it's just, maybe I made a new friend at the grocery store, or got confrontational with somebody, and instead of arguing with them, I just sat back and listened and realized that, you know what, I'm not here to change people's minds anyways, right? So I'm just here to listen. Let them say what they got to say. I'm not going to get involved with it. I can't be bothered. And I've also been able to control my ego. So just like I said, by listening instead of confronting people. And I guess setting goals. And the nice thing about having you for a coach is now I'm accountable to them. And it's important that since I do have goals and I go over them with you, that I don't just set them and then a week later forget about them and then move on to something else. That if they're important enough to set and go over, then they're important enough to get done. And I think maybe one of the most important things, Jason, and we learned this last week, is to be playful. Just to start playing more in your life like you did when you were a kid. That's kind of I think one thing that we forget. Mind you, I don't have kids around the house. I have grandkids, but I've got a dog I can play with. And, whether I'm out in the park with them or walking through the woods or fighting with them in the house, it's nice not to be 66, but to be a kid again.
That's amazing. Yeah, you touched on a lot of you touched on a lot of points there.
Yeah, well, I went over them all because I have every week I put on my list underneath my self-talk, I put the important points of every week so that when I go over my self-talk, I'm reinforcing, like my intentions for the day are to reinforce all the things that I've learned from the program and to make them a part of my life. And I can't do that if I just walk away from them. So I got to keep them in my mind, right? That's one of the things I've learned. So I have a big list of them. I just took out some of them because I figured if I went through a lot of them that I'd probably end up crying. So we just get emotional, right? When you see yourself grow and change it.
Oh, it's amazing. And mindfulness, being aware of your thoughts and your feelings is a major, is like the building block of what we do in the program. And, I was the same way. And, why do you think it's so hard for guys to get into meditation? Or like, you talked about meditation and journaling. And I know for me, when, people mentioned I did that, I'd be like, I'm not doing that. It's not really a manly thing to do. How is that for you, doing the journaling and doing the meditations?
No problem. Like I said, I do it sometimes 3-4 times a day. Anytime I'm feeling a little down or just feeling a little beat, if I need a break, I'll just go in the house and I sit in a chair, put my feet on the ground, and put my hands in a mandra. I think that's how you say it, mandra formation. And then I'll put a meditation on, a calming meditation, sometimes a mental health meditation, just soothing meditations, a happiness meditation, whatever I'm in the mood for. And it's so calming, right? Start your day with a calm mind and a clear path, and with good intentions, and you've got your day set. You're ready to rock and roll.
That's
Instead
amazing.
of just waking up and going through the motions, and it's another day and you're not thinking about anything. Just, oh shit, I have to go to work and this and that. And no. No, get your mind and your body and your emotions ready for the day. Go out there and enjoy it. Life's short, man.
It is. And it sounds like through doing this work, you've really taken back control of your life, taken back your mind, I guess, is how you say it.
Well, that's the big thing, right? Is because a lot of things in life you can't control, but you can control yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I've known that for a long time, but just forget. And just next thing you know, you're just living, and you're thinking shitty thoughts and doing silly things and not really paying attention. You're not being mindful. You have no intention for your life. You're just living, but not really living the way you want to be living. Just living the way life's taking you. So
Yeah, exactly.
Time to get control of your own little rudder and direct your own destiny. And
yeah, a lot of us live on. A lot of us live on autopilot and then just complain about everything. But when you actually start, taking control of things and holding yourself responsible for your own life, that's when a major shift starts happening. I guess I got one more question. I got one more question for you, if you don't mind, before we go. I'm just curious, since you've been doing this work in this program, I'm just wondering, how has that affected your relationships with the people around you in your life?
Well, I started a couple weeks ago. One of my issues was, I was swearing too much, and like we were talking about bad habits, and mine were like I was swearing too much, and the other was since I've been retired and my wife's still working, and I'm just with the dog, and I was being like antisocial. Not because I'm an antisocial person. I'm actually an extrovert, but it was easy to be antisocial. And so I decided that, number one, I was going to stop swearing. I still swear a bit, but every time I swear, I'm aware that I'm not supposed to be swearing. Mm-hmm. So even if I swear like intellectually in my mind and don't actually say it, I correct it. So that's good. That's on the right road. And the other aspect was I started contacting everybody in my family every day. And I would call them, and if they didn't answer, then I would text them, just say hello and just get in touch with them. And my one sister's like, "Holy cow, you've called me twice this week. What's wrong?" Just like, "Oh, you live kind of far away, and I never really get to talk to you." So you know what? That's all good. Even, my relationship I guess the best part of it, part of my affirmation is I will not waste my energy on the things I cannot control. So I can't control how other people think and how other people speak and how other people feel. You know what? I can't control if they're happy or if they're not happy. That's something that they can control. They have the power to do that, and I have the power to do that for myself. That's all I can control is myself. And realizing that I don't have to take any of that stuff personally. That's somebody else's deal, not mine. And I can just let it go, and I don't let stuff like that bother me. So that's quite amazing, actually, for just 8 weeks.
No, that's beautiful, and I love that. We can't
Even
control
it. Even if I would have just got that out of it, it would have been worth it.
Mm-hmm. I remember when I had that realization in my life that, the world is chaos. I need to stop trying to control everything. The only thing I can control is how I respond to the situation. Because if you're going to try to control the world around you, you're going to drive yourself mental.
You can't do it anyways. You just have people hating you all over the place. Yeah, so what? Everybody just get along.
Well, that's
great.
great.
The best thing is it doesn't matter where I go. If I go to the grocery store walking down the street, now I stop. If somebody's on their front porch, I yell at them, "Hey, how you doing?" In the grocery store, I'm always talking to people in the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun. People like it. They like
That's
it when people are nice to them. It's an amazing thing.
That's awesome. And I do have one more question if you got time.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone who's hesitant about investing in themselves or joining a coaching program or working with a coach, that thinks that they would just rather do it on their own and figure it out on their own by reading books or watching YouTube videos or whatever, or using ChatGPT or whatever?
Yeah, like seriously, I've wasted probably, I started on a journey like this when I was 19, and I'm 66 now. So look at all the years I wasted and all the money I wasted on books and tapes and VCR tapes, probably more than what this program cost me. And where did it get me? You know what? If you want to get better at something, if you want to improve something, I don't care whether it's golf or it's hockey or it's lacrosse or it's tennis, whatever it is, music, you need a coach. You need a coach. The coach will get you where you want to go quicker and in better shape than you ever will learning on your own. That's my opinion. There might be some geniuses out there that can do it. And if they can, good for them. But you know what? I don't really consider myself an average person, kind of an above average type person. Not a genius, but pretty intelligent. And the amount of change I've noticed since I've been in this program and had someone coaching me is just phenomenal. Can't even put words on it.
That's amazing.
Crazy if you're not. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Wasting your time, wasting your money if you don't get a coach.
Yeah, I agree. Even myself working with coaches for the past 2 years, I'm light years ahead of where I would have been if I was still trying to figure this out on my own. I don't even know where I would be.
You probably go back to the start every 6 or 8 months. Go back because you're on the wrong path. So go back and start over again. Try something else. Try something else. Try something else. It's usually the way it goes.
And I think one of the best parts about working with a coach is you have that accountability every week when you got to show up for your meeting. Whereas when you're doing it on your own, it's easy just to give up.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Close the book, put it on the shelf, pick it up 6 months later, look at all the highlighted areas. I said to my daughter, go grab a book off the shelf. And like I can tell you what it's about by the name of the book, and open it up. All my notes are highlighted in it. I don't even know what they are. She said, well, that's kind of a waste of time and money, wasn't it? And I said, yeah, it was. My own fault, but hey, you know what? You start reading a book, you put it down, you get carried away with the rest of your day, and the next thing you know, and no one's sitting there telling you, okay, so what did you learn today in the book? So what do? You just, I don't know, you read the book and then you go on to something else.
Mm-hmm.
You're no different than me, probably.
Yeah.
Until we got coaches, we just floated around in space, man.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's awesome, Gary.
Okay,
Thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate you taking the time. You have a great day, sir.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having the program. I appreciate that. And you have a great day too.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. All right. That was awesome. That was one of the guys that's currently in my program, and his transformation has been incredible so far. It's blowing my mind. But that just goes to show when you have someone that's really committed and taking it seriously and really wanting to make a change in their life, because it's a two-way street, right? You can join a program like this, but you still have to do the work and you still have to want to do it. You're not just going to get a transformation just by signing up for a program and paying for it. You still have to put in the time and do the work. And this guy has really done the work, so much to the point where he's, inspiring me by how much he's putting into it. And it's just amazing. It's still a lot of work, but doing a program, working with a coach is going to get you where you want to go a whole lot faster than doing it yourself. That is for sure. So thank you very much, Gary, for calling in. Really appreciate you and your support, and really appreciate having you in the group. You're an inspiration to myself and to everyone else in the group. And I hope that, I'm sure that you've probably touched a few people who are listening out there and helped them realize something within themselves. So it's really powerful. So where do I want to go from here? So next I want to talk a little bit about, what this program solves. What else? I kind of talked a bit about why I created the program. So we talked a little bit about this. It creates a safe space for emotional honesty. So as a guy, a lot of us, we don't really have people to talk to. And if you're anything like me, you tend to hold everything in, things that are bothering you. If something's bothering you, you might have some close friends that you talk to, but a lot of guys don't really want to be vulnerable with their friends because they don't want them to think they're weak. Depending on what your group of friends is like, your buddies might make fun of you, call you names, depending on how, emotionally, I don't know the word, your friends are, because a lot of guys aren't really into talking about their emotions. And if you talk about your emotions and you're, I'm not going to say that word on here. And even as a guy, sometimes, even opening up to our wives can be hard, and, saying, this is how I'm feeling. And it can be difficult because it can be taken the wrong way, or maybe they're not fully listening, or we don't want them to think of us as weak because we're supposed to be the man. We're supposed to be tough. We're supposed to be strong, and we're supposed to be providing for the family. So it's a safe space where you can share with like-minded individuals and not have to worry about, feeling shamed or made fun of or any stuff like that. And this program is really going to help you reconnect with your purpose and your values and what's truly important to you in your life. And it helps you build clarity with a practical direction, having something to work towards, something to focus on, setting goals for what you want to do, and, really showing up for yourself in a meaningful way. Why do a lot of us feel stuck? A lot of us guys, we're taught to suppress our emotions. We never really learned how to really feel our emotions. I know for me, when I was younger, that if I had certain feelings, I thought there was something wrong with me. I can't have these feelings. What's wrong with me? So we just push them down and we suppress them. And also, in our society, if we're not happy all the time, then there's something wrong with us. So we just kind of pretend that we're happy all the time, and we don't really want to show that, we have something going on. But, this program will teach you how to process those emotions and not suppress them anymore, and also help process emotions that you have suppressed through your whole life, through inner child work or reflection and journaling and all that kind of stuff. And that's really important for your mental health and your physical health as well. It'll help you build emotional maturity and resilience, so you're able to stand up to difficult situations in life and not freak out or not get triggered when things happen. And like Gary said, you can't control what anyone else does. You can only control how you respond to the situations. And it provides a proven framework for growth. And what else do I got here? And this program is going to equip you with weekly practices, whether that's mindfulness meditations, intention setting, journaling. A lot of it goes back to mindfulness. Mindfulness is kind of the core of everything we do, because if you're not aware of your thoughts or what's going on in your mind, then you can't really change how you're thinking. And a lot of times our thoughts create our emotions too. So, like for example, if you can change your self-talk on how you talk to yourself, you can change the way that you feel about yourself. Because a lot of us, we're really nice when we talk to other people, but we're not so nice when we talk to ourselves. In our inner dialogue, we can be pretty nasty to ourselves. This program also offers group support and normalizes emotions, and builds new patterns through real experiences. And why is this program different? This program is different because it's not just content, it's real transformation. Like we said, it's not just like reading a book and putting it on the shelf. It's not just doing the modules and then, turning it off and going on to your daily life. The real work happens in your daily life when we integrate these learnings into our life, and we're intentional on how we want to show up. We're intentional on how we want to be in certain situations. And that's where the real practice and the real work happens, is in our daily life. We get the tools in the group through the exercises, through the group calls, and that stuff. But the real work happens in our daily life. And, if you want to be aware of your thoughts, that's a 24/7 job, because you're thinking from the moment you wake up till the moment you go to bed at night. So if you want to start changing how you think, that's a full-time job, paying attention to your thoughts. So, that's where the real work happens. And noticing, if you're being negative to yourself, noticing when you're having those thoughts to yourself, and then just changing it. You just notice the thought, and then you just change it you replace it with another thought. And that's how you create new neural pathways in your brain. So some of the results I've seen from this program, like you heard Gary talking there earlier, greater self-awareness, greater self-control, deeper connection with yourself and to your purpose in life and who you want to be, and more peace at home. Able to show up better in relationships, whether that's with your kids or with your wife or your friends, because when you're able to show up fully and be present, picture the dad who's at work and he comes home and he's stressed out, and, he's not able to fully be present with his wife and kids because he's thinking about work, or he's angry about this or angry about that. And, imagine if you were just able to come home, and no matter what happened in your day, just to let it go and sit there and be fully present for your kids and fully present for your partner. And, I think that is one of the greatest gifts that you can give to your family. All right, guys. Well, we are getting near the end of our time today. So before we wrap up, we're going to stop it there. There's a lot more I could talk about, but we're coming to the end of our time here. So before we wrap up, I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you to everyone for tuning in, for listening, sharing, growing, and being a part of this 24-episode journey. Hosting this show has been one of the most meaningful experiences in my life to date, and I'm so grateful for every single one of you who has listened along and walked this path with me. And if anything in this episode spoke to you, even if you're feeling stressed, stuck, disconnected, or like you're ready for something more, then I want to personally invite you to reach out to me and apply for my 12-week program, The Journey Within. This isn't just another course or self-help framework. It's a transformational experience designed to help you rebuild your confidence, reconnect with who you really are, and start living your life with more clarity, peace, and purpose. This is for men who are done doing it alone, and they're ready to step into a brotherhood, be supported, and finally take action on what really matters most. And if that's you, I'd love to talk. You can head over to jasondoby.com or simply click the link in the show notes to learn more and to apply for the program. And if you're not quite ready yet, that's okay too. Just keep doing the work and keep showing up for yourself. And this may be the final episode of this 24-episode series, but this isn't the end of the journey. I'll still be sharing and creating over on Instagram. So if we haven't already connected, you can find me at Transformative_Pathways on Instagram. That's where I'll be posting any updates on when the podcast will return after we take a short break. And I'll also be continuing to share content to support your growth in the meantime. And honestly, don't be shy about reaching out. If this episode landed with you, if you've been thinking about doing this kind of work, I'd really love to chat. I personally read every DM, and it means a lot to me to hear from you. So thank you so much for being here. Take care of yourselves. And when you're ready, I'll be here. We'll talk soon.
This has been the Transformative Pathways Podcast with your host, Jason Doby. Tune in each week for more insights, inspiring stories, and transformative journeys. Until then, keep exploring the path to keep your best self. Saturdays, 3 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network, powered by B2 Studios.